Good afternoon. Welcome to today's live chat. I'm Rebecca Fuhr. There's still plenty of time to get your questions in for today's live chat. Send them to DOC_questions. And as always, if you ever want to go back and rewatch any of the live chats, I always post the recording on the front page of DocNet under Executive Director Live Chats. Today, we have so much to talk about. We'll be talking about bed constraints, Visitation House Bill 25-1013, and of course, answering your hot topic questions. If you do not hear your question today, it could be because our directors need just a little bit more time to form a response. Rest assured, I'll still ask all of your questions, but we'll add it to the top of the list for our August 12th live chat. Lastly, due to the vast number of questions we received regarding the return to office, we decided to cover all of them during our headquarters town hall on July 22nd at 1 o'clock. Since this session is not recorded, nor will it be live streamed, we encourage you to attend in person. Please continue to send in all of your questions. We want to make sure we're addressing those concerns that matter to you most. And kindly, if you would, add in the subject line of those questions, add headquarters town hall. Our executive director, deputy executive director, Melissa Smith, is sitting in for Mr. Stansel today. Good afternoon, Melissa.
Good afternoon.
We have so many questions today. I'm just going to jump right in if that's okay with you.
That is perfect.
Great.
To get to be able to answer them.
Great. So how do we change the morale in VOC?
This is an important question, and a question that is really encompasses everybody that works within the Department of Corrections. Improving morale, it really starts with our individual actions as well as the collective efforts that we have as a team. Morale stems with what we do as staff, how we support each other through difficult times, through challenging times, and about our individual desire to just be true leaders within the department to support one another. It's about the culture that we choose to create and we choose to share with others. It's about mutual respect and a commitment to our mission. As we are committed to creating an environment of meaningful work, we ask that all of you do that as well. It is really about what we do each and every day as individuals and how we come together as team members. We accomplish morale and we accomplish the change within the department as a cohesive team, sharing input, asking questions, and then just actually reaching out to our team members to share and be supportive and caring. What I would say is I would encourage each of you to take advantages of opportunities to be available and willing to grow, to ask questions, to support one another, to say the hard things when we need to say those hard things, but most of all, to take action for ourselves and our behaviors and remember that what we bring into the department, our choices and our overall attitude really impacts morale. And it's important that we take a positive approach to helping to mentor, support one another, and to really supporting the mission of the department.
Talk to us about why we're having staff that are awarded Employee of the Quarter going to headquarters for training, lunch, and other award ceremony when we're having budget constraints.
And that's a great question, but it's an important question because we bring staff to headquarters to celebrate the accomplishments of these individuals, the accomplishments that you all made for wanting to recognize these individuals and really supporting these individuals that have done outstanding work throughout the department. It supports our staff and it helps to boost morale to know that we have recognized, we have taken an opportunity to really help support these individuals who have come to work every day to be great team members, to be great supporters of the department's mission. And even with budget challenges, it's an investment in our staff and our culture to really take time to recognize the great work that these individuals do. And in turn, give hope for others that are doing great work that maybe one day they will also get that opportunity to participate in these. And then it's just recognizing employees and really sending a message of excellence and recognizing the excellent work that they have done, and then just it's a very small cost compared to the benefits of improved morale, stronger engagement, and better retention. And so we believe that it's a reasonable and fair offset to recognize our employees, our outstanding employees, and to recognize them in the time for which you guys have recommended, or I don't know, for which you all have highly encouraged these individuals to be recognized for. So it's important for us.
Thank you. Talk to us about the visitation, House Bill 251013.
All right, as many of you have seen, Alondra and her team have been sending out numerous emails about a visitation bill and the work that's going on behind that. So currently we do have working groups that are going through the visitation bill to really prepare policies and to look at what our upcoming visitation opportunities for sharing with community members and visitors as well as staff. So we will be hosting throughout the month of July, August, and September visitation town halls for family members and guests that could be advocate groups as well. We will have these working groups to attend these visitations with us. So it's a multidisciplinary group of staff that are coming in to work specifically around the changes that we will have to policy and processes, to make recommendations to ensure that we are safely implementing based on the feedback from our staff. And so we have staff from all areas, PPMU to BIG to PIO, PAL, and then prison operations, and at all levels as well. They are helping us to construct, again, our policies and processes. And then many of our leaders will take that information from these working groups and will participate or attend these town halls. And then Alondra has sent out an email specific to staff so that we can get your questions and your worries and concerns and start to address those alongside of addressing policy and procedure guidelines. So we really encourage that you all provide feedback to help us gather more information and create a town hall opportunity for our staff as well as our family members. And so please take time to respond to that survey that was sent out by Alondra and her team, very specific to your worries and concerns with visitation.
Thank you. Our Deputy Director of Finance and Administration, Mitch Karstens, is here to talk about bed constraints. And if we need to, we can have our Director of Prisons, Mark Fairbairn, jump in as well. You guys can tag team this. How about that?
Great. Thank you, Rebecca. Yes, so we have gotten a couple of questions about overall capacity in the department and what that looks like with the new projections that are coming up. So we just kind of want to give a high-level understanding of where we are right now. We are facing some capacity issues on funded beds in our jail backlog. Anybody that has been monitoring that or seeing that would be able to see that. DOC anticipates that the prison population is going to continue to rise. We go off of what's called the DCJ projection, or the Division of Criminal Justice, puts together that projection twice a year, and that is what we have to follow on how many beds that we'll be using in the next fiscal year. So with those, actually, that report actually just went live a couple of days ago, and we've been looking at that. Particularly, our concern is around level 3 beds in the department and how many are currently being used, but also our total inventory that we have inside of the department if we wanted to bring additional beds online. We are working really diligently right now to understand the capacity issues that we have and the funded beds that we have, along with beds that are not open that could be opened if need be in the near future. Again, as I stated, the anticipated increase is expected in the prison population for the next 5 years. That's how far DCJ goes out, is 5 years. So that is what we go off of, but it is showing that we will have increased population every year for those 5 years. We are already working on and exploring options of what is going to happen. We have a couple of things at play. So one is we have a facilities master plan. We have an external consultant that is working on that with us. They should be completed here at the end of this month. And that really is evaluating our total beds that we have in the department, what security level they're at, what our population growth is going to be, and how we will manage that over the next 5 to 10 years. So we are excited to see what they come to bear. They did tours of every single facility we have in the department and said they had a great interaction with everyone. We are also working with the Joint Budget Committee and the Governor's Office to start to put together long-term plans of what the prison population will be doing, whether that's an additional facility, working with additional privates, a combination of those things that will be needed to manage population into the future. So plenty more to come there. We don't have firm answers on any of that yet, but we do know that the population is growing and that we will need to do something within the next year so that we can handle the population going into the future past that point. So that's kind of where we're at in that process right now of evaluating the total overall capacity of the department.
Thank you, Mr. Carstens. Let's go over to our Director of Communications and DEIB, Alondra Gonzalez. Ms. Gonzalez, can you give us an update on our Facebook page?
Yes, thank you, Rebecca. So unfortunately, on June 20th, we lost administrative access to the department's official Facebook. This is not the ones that typically we use through the careers team for recruitment purposes. This is more of the official one. So it wasn't due to a security breach. It was technical issues. We are having that being looked at. We don't have a time frame for when that's going to get resolved. No content on the Facebook has been altered or been compromised at this point. It is locked down. So right now we wanted to communicate that with staff. We typically use that as a primary source for us to communicate major updates, press releases, but unfortunately we can't. So we are going to share updates through our official not our Facebook, our official website, and our X/Twitter account. So if you have any questions or any updates that you need, just go onto our public facing website. That's going to be the handiest way for you to get updates. And then we will update everyone once we get that resolved. So
thank you so much. We appreciate that update. Our Policy and Legislative Affairs Director is Adrienne Sanchez. Good afternoon to you.
Hello, how are you?
Will there be any updates on the progress regarding the strategic plan or the working groups, the 3 groups that were formed, what they have done?
As a matter of fact, this is a good timing sort of question. So on July 14th, we're going to be convening a gathering of leadership, management, and strategic initiative key collaborators from each facility in order to obtain updates from the facilities now that we've hit the 1-year mark for implementation on the internal strategic plan. Once we have that reporting back from all facilities, we will be sending out department-wide messaging with results and next steps, and we will be creating a dashboard that can be used for internal viewing. In the meantime, I do have sort of a high-level overview. So if you'll recall, with our work group number 1 related to internal culture, these groups have been working on a proposal for a leadership training for all DOC staff, not just supervisors. Also working on a proposal to revamp the employee of the quarter, to add categories for non-custodial, custodial, and supervisors, which will create more opportunities to recognize staff. Also looking at completing a survey examining dress preferences, uniform preferences. Work group 2 is focusing on modernizing the department. They have previously sent out the CDOC system redundancy survey and are working on completing the analysis of the results of that survey. And that will be distributed when it's complete. And finally, our External Image Committee is working on a possible podcast for DOC staff. So more to come on that, and thank you for asking.
Yeah, that's a great question. When will the department allow for Black BDU pants to be in policy?
So I don't have a specific answer to that question, but what I can tell everyone generally is that the best way to get your policy suggestions into draft policies is to ensure that you send them to Kristen Lighthall during that review month for the policy. Each month, Kristen sends an email that lists the policies up for annual review. And in this case, the dress code AR 1450-31 is up for annual review in February. For now, I will have Kristen make a note to consider the Black BDU pants with the next review of the AR 1450-31. Although perhaps our Deputy Executive Director may have some additional information on that. Melissa?
So yes, thank you so much, Adrienne. And yes, in past town halls, we have discussed the utilization of Black BDUs. And Kristen does have it in the queue to add to policy for the next review. So please watch for the policy updates to come through so that we can all make that adjustment.
Thank you. Let's move on to our Inspector General, Danny Lake. Good afternoon to you.
Hello, everyone.
Can you talk to us about why we do not conduct staff interdictions to make sure staff are not bringing in THC products and other paraphernalia into their vehicles?
Well, unfortunately, we do conduct staff interdictions. OIG is always and will continue to conduct staff and visitor interdictions when requested by the facility, appointing authority, or designee, or if the investigator receives information that indicates a possible introduction of contraband or possible drug introduction by any visitor, offender, or staff. And we really need staff help in this. If you have any information to provide, please do not hesitate to advise your facility investigator immediately. We need all staff to be engaged and be part of solving the problem. However, if THC products or paraphernalia are left in staff vehicles, hopefully the car is secured, but staff should follow administrative regulation. And however, if it's against the regulation, the appointing authority will handle the situation administratively if those items are not allowed on state property. But if it's any other drug other than THC, then the Office of the Inspector General will definitely get involved with it criminally.
Thank you so much. Let's turn our attention over to the Finance and Administration Director, Ashley Clark. Good afternoon to you.
Afternoon, Rebecca.
What's the selling point of the step pay to encourage staff to promote with years of experience outside of their job series? How does this help the department at all?
So this is a great question. You know, when the state of Colorado and CoWINS came together in the fall of 2022, the parties agreed that the new STEP program would be based on time in job series. So time in series or time in job series is defined as an employee's total completed number of years as of June 30th, occupying a position in their current job classification or classifications within a job series. So going from a nurse 1 to a nurse 2 to a nurse 3. But it didn't count time outside of that series. So going from a nurse 2 to HP series. The STEP program did address pay equity issues, and alleviated some pay compression, reduced bias, and addresses employee pay progression through the pay range, but only based on that job series. And that's what we were seeing at DOC. So we recognize that some staff were reluctant from promoting to positions outside of their job series. To remedy this, the department reviewed the Equal Pay for Equal Work Act and developed our new compensation practice and policy that's outlined in AR 1450-60. I believe that was last fall that we unveiled that new AR. Having another factor for experience allows people to be promoted within the department and not make the minimum of the promotional pay range, and allows us to be competitive in filling vacancies. I also just want to remind people that I know that CoWINS and the state is well aware of the issues of how the step pay was implemented. And part of the new agreement with CoWINS is to kind of re-examine how step pay is implemented right now and see if there are improvements we can make, knowing that it's going to have a pretty significant financial cost.
Thank you. Let's switch gears a little bit and talk about the new driving policy. How will that affect those of us who check out vehicles to know if the employee record has been reviewed or if they have been disqualified? Will we be held accountable for being knowledgeable of this when checking out a vehicle?
So I am so happy. We have a bunch of questions about fleet, and I'm so excited to talk about fleet. And I just want to remind people, this is not something you can opt into. We need everyone to fill out that form that was sent out about your driving record. So even if you just check out a vehicle once a year, we need to know that, and we need to be able to see your record to ensure that we're in compliance with federal and state law. The motor vehicle, so then to go to the specific question, the motor vehicle record checks will be done as a centralized process by Fleet Services for the whole department to comply with the Universal Policy Driving Standards, or the UPDS requirements. There's no requirement to have or prove or check about an annual MVR check on an employee to check out a vehicle, meaning it is not your responsibility to do that check, but it is your responsibility to fill out the form. Once an MVR is complete and reveals a policy non-compliance check, and the process to determine the status of an employee's driving privileges for state business is concluded, there will be a list shared with all vehicle coordinators and motor pool coordinators to reference to know if an employee has suspended driving privileges. Put it another way, what your job to do as an employee is to fill out that form, and then we'll take care of the rest.
Love it. How can you not drive a state vehicle with 120 to 30 mile over ticket, which under DOS and under CDOT and CDL standards is you cannot have more than 12 points on your license?
So this is a great question, and thanks to the person for putting it in. To ensure consistency with information being shared and the messaging being provided by other agencies, our fleet professionals reached out to the State Office of Risk Management, which is kind of like the fleet for everybody over at DPA, to answer this question. And so we were provided with the following response and justification as to why the state, so not just DOC, but the entire state, does not allow for any 20+ mile per hour speeding events. And the response they sent over, which I'm going to read verbatim, because again, we're trying to ensure that all agencies are getting the same language from DPA, is that speeding over 20 miles per hour is a serious infraction and was included in the 5-year review of MVR. The standards for CDOT are the same, and the requirements for a CDL are set by the federal government. The state's requirements are separate and distinct from the CDL license requirements and are based on the liability that is covered by risk management. So to put it another way, our insurance won't cover it, and our insurance is DPA. So that's why.
Got it. Seems like we're getting more and more vehicles that are not conducive to our needs. For example, the Toyota Prius, you're not able to install a cage. The Ford Fusion doesn't have enough trunk space. What's being done to ensure we're getting vehicles assigned that we can actually use?
So I know that that's been a big lift over the past few years from fleet on ensuring that what DPA has allowed us to use is also what we need to use for those exact reasons, right? We're DOC, we've got our own way of working, and we have needs that are probably different than DORA or DOR. So DOC has been taking steps required to transition its fleets into one that supports the duties required of each vehicle. DOC's fleet services partners with respective vehicle coordinators and leadership over each vehicle to ensure that all vehicles procured are focused on meeting the duties required. So an example that comes to mind is parole, especially as we're talking about caging a lot of those vehicles. Fleet processes and procedures within parole have changed drastically to support this initial statement. DOC fleet services and parole leadership are unified and taking the necessary steps to standardize the fleet while improving fleet procurement practices so that all parole vehicles are capable of meeting the needs of the department on day one within DOC's fleet. This process begins 2 years prior to a new vehicle arriving in DOC's fleet. And I know that's kind of crazy to think about, but that is how far ahead we have to start planning.
Wow. With all the budget concerns and fleet budget concerns specifically, why are there not mileage limits placed out for requesting state vehicles? For example, if the mileage or travel is within 50 miles of your home facility, a state vehicle will not be authorized.
So that is also a great question. And I love the thought process of some of these questions, especially this one, which is, we know that it's a tight budget year. We know that budgets are going to get even tighter with the passage of Big Beautiful Bill. And so they're looking for ways that we can save money. So I really appreciate the intent behind this question. Cost avoidance in one area of the budget doesn't necessarily alleviate pressures in another area of the budget. Budgets are allocated by use, and there are fiscal rules that limit rolling over one budget line to another unrelated use. The reason I say that is because as for mileage, the department's variable mileage budget is parsed out among cost centers, so facilities, programs, and et cetera. And it's the purview of the administrative head to limit or restrict travel if necessary to remain within their budgeted allocation. Due to the wide array of missions, programs, facilities, and activities that the department undertakes, a one-size-fit-all approach would not be in the department's best interest in this situation. But state guidance advises against using personal vehicles for work travel due to the high cost per mile incurred through personal mileage reimbursement compared to established variable rates. So this practice is actually not advantageous for either the employee or the state.
Thank you. How is CDOC going to rebuild trust with state legislature after the audit exposed so many bad budgeting practices?
I am so glad that we have a couple questions on this because I know there have been inaccurate emails circulating about the audit and its findings. So I just wanted to clear up some of those misconceptions. And I really wish that whoever wrote those emails, and if you've got time to actually read the audit, first, DOC requested the audit. And I think that's really important. And that's something that's getting lost in these false messages. DOC has tried to engage the legislature multiple times to rectify issues with budgeting practices, but we were told basically time and time again not to change procedure. That's why DOC asked for the audit to help rebuild that trust. The audit created robust recommendations about how to continually improve the budget request for DOC. This will take partnership with DOC, the governor's office, the legislature, and the Joint Budget Committee. A number of the recommendations can't be changed by DOC alone, but have all those groups working together. And I would be remiss if I didn't say that we would also need to work with co-wins on some of these audit recommendations. While the audit did identify areas of improvement, as we were pretty open and honest and transparent with the auditors, the most important things to note is that a lot of the areas that identified for improvement were a lot of those processes that are dictated to DOC and not ones that we necessarily control, or the processes that have been, that's the way it's always been done, right? So we're excited to work with all those involved to improve and strengthen these processes.
Director, where's the accountability for the $29 million? Who's being held responsible, and why aren't those responsible losing their jobs over what JBC called fraud, abuse, and negligent mismanagement?
So this is again why I encourage you to actually read the audit. The audit was conducted by a third-party independent party that was selected by the Office of the State Auditor. So it wasn't even selected by us. That's how impartial it was. And the audit firm did in fact find no sources of fraud, abuse, or mismanagement of state funds. So I'm going to just say that again. The audit did not find any source of fraud, abuse, or mismanagement of state funds. The audit identified opportunities for the department to enhance its budgeting process, aligning with best practices within state corrections and other states' corrections. Some of the practices have been long-standing practices between DOC, OSPB, JBC, and the legislature. DOC is excited to work on these recommendations with all of these groups to implement. All of the recommendations I think we approved, we agreed with, and we are excited to start implementing them. And then I just want to remind people as well that in addition, DOC regularly undergoes multiple financial audits every year. I'm pretty sure it's driving Brad Duca and his entire office gray from answering all of their questions every single year. And in the past 5 years, there's been one finding from all of these audits, and that had to do with the reporting of the ARPA swap mandated by the legislature. So again, this concept that there's waste, fraud, and abuse is inaccurate, and I'm excited to correct the record on that.
Thank you. In reference to the statement made in the May 12th email for fiscal year 25-26, the legislature had only approved temporary incentive pay of 4% for nurses. No other classifications will receive the differential moving forward. Please clarify temporary incentive pay of 4% for nurses and employees working in 24/7 facilities.
The email was in response to our contractual requirements found in the statewide partnership agreement. And so pursuant to Article 32.3, the parties, so co-wins in the state, agreed to seek $12 million in general funds for the fiscal year to pay for a critical staffing incentive to the classifications listed. Unfortunately, the legislation did not approve the entire request. The legislature only approved nurses. So only nurses will receive the critical incentive pay, or that temporary incentive pay, of 4%. And that's nurse 1 through nurse 5. And that's in fiscal year FY26.
Got it. Are there any plans, upcoming plans to provide bonuses for case management similar to what others have received?
So it wouldn't be a live chat without this question. Case managers have not been excluded from many of the bonuses that have gone out for staff, just the 2.8% temporary pay. There are no upcoming plans to give bonuses just for case managers. As I mentioned previously, we are not approved to add any additional positions to the Cohen's agreement. Regardless, the legislature did not approve any additional temp pay for many of the classifications even called out in the partnership agreement, except for the nurse series. And then I just want to remind people the history of incentives that this person might be referring to as bonuses as well, in case they weren't referring to that particular temp pay. There are incentives that went to all current staff. So the department spent approximately $8 million in retention incentives for current staff in the past fiscal year in FY25. Of the $5.4 million unallocated incentive funds received for the department for incentives in FY24, all of that went to current staff. And then in FY23, the department had a $20 million incentive package, and of which $16 million, or so 4/5 of, were for current staff. So the vast majority of funds that have gone out in the past few years have been for current staff and have gone to almost all staff. Regarding STEPS, the partnership agreement explains the importance of STEPS and the 2.0 work group, which will work to redesign the current STEP system. And I think I talked about that earlier as well.
Some of the staff at Fremont have noticed remodeling being done at Building 97. What's the plans for this building?
Oh, I'm so glad that you guys noticed that. So as part of a larger move plan across the Canyon City, CI South Sector will be centralizing all its work teams in Building 97. So you're about to have some neighbors. This includes the dog program. So you can come by and see some pups when you need to. Farm, heavy equipment, accounts payable, CI management, and life safety, as well as maybe some others.
Great. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. We're going to move over to Clinical Services, Director Lacey Monday. Hello to you.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
What is the plan to make sure our clinics are adequately staffed to care for the offenders in an appropriate time frame and not burn out our staff, causing more staff shortages?
Thank you for this question. And I think this is something that we've been talking about for a while. And we have an awareness of the staffing shortages, and also just the staffing that is allocated for clinic isn't enough. Unfortunately, at this time, we cannot request additional funding or staffing from the legislature. So that's where we would ask and get that. So what we're doing right now, we're in the middle of a huge project where we're identifying we're looking at all the positions throughout the system to determine if there's a way that we could move them into different places. So hopefully this will be finalized in the next couple of months. And then the clinical division specifically will take the time to just review all vacancies, our org charts, and determine if we need to make movements. So that's upcoming. I don't know if it's going to actually fix the full problem, but we're trying to use our resources as effectively as we can.
How do we keep nurses if we go to 13-hour, 20-minute shifts with many nurses traveling, causing unsafe amount of time between shifts?
So the majority of our facilities are already on 1320s. So there were a couple of facilities recently that had to shift their schedules because they had built-in overtime on their schedules and they were not approved. So right now we just do not have the ability to have a schedule that pays out overtime. It's just a regular schedule. So that's why if you're seeing that happening at your facility, that's probably the reason. But this is already taking place across the system. So at this time, I haven't seen any issues with that schedule.
Great, thank you so much. Let's jump over to Prison Ops and our Director of Prisons, Mark Fairbairn. How are you?
Good, Rebecca. How are you?
I'm great. What can we do to hold inmates accountable for having Suboxone in their cells, since we are no longer monitoring the consumption of Suboxone in Medline?
So first of all, we can hold offenders accountable through the COPD process if COPD or if Suboxone is found in their cell. And that's just writing a report and sending it through the process. But the importance of, one, when they say we're not checking a Medline, during every Medline, there's an officer assigned for buccal checks, and that is to check and make sure the offender is taking that medicine. And the importance of that staff member doing those checks is crucial, especially with handing out Suboxone, to make sure or limit the diversion as best as possible.
When will the wardens be transparent about the contents of the 4 phases that will affect staff?
So the the document that was given to the appointing authorities was not confidential. And in fact, I sent out another email that the wardens could forward to their staff directly from me that talked about those 4 phases. There's nothing confidential about our overtime plan. It basically talks about the need to use the case management, education, and support staff to help us mitigate overtime in our facilities, and it'll be done by individualized facilities. So if you have questions, reach out to your appointing authority, and if you're not getting those answers, please reach out to your deputy director or myself, and we'll make sure you get those answers.
Thank you. With the budget cuts in regard to overtime, will this affect Sterling, CSP, and hospital coverages?
Absolutely not. Hospital watches are unpredictable, and they're one of the most dangerous parts of our job. So we will continue to staff them and staff them appropriately. As we've done in the past, we will continue that.
Several management level employees are on administrative leave. The absence of people holding these positions is affecting the facilities and costing the Colorado taxpayers approximately $45,000 a month. Is there a process to expedite this investigation so the facilities can get back to normal?
Absolutely. I mean, every investigation or personnel matter, we do our best to expedite and finish as quickly as possible. But we also want to make sure that we have all the facts and do our due diligence in making sure we have all those facts to make a decision. So I understand the strain it has on facilities and staff during this time. I appreciate everyone who stepped up to cover those. And if there's any specific concerns, there is assigned appointing authorities in those facilities. Please reach out to them or your deputies again if you have specific concerns.
Thank you. Now that case managers and teachers are being required to post again, is there a department-wide policy outlining who must post, particularly regarding management? And why is the implementation so inconsistent across facilities?
So, first of all, the expectation to appointing authorities is that it's not just case management, education, and teachers. The expectation in the phase plan is how much we can use those staff. As far as supervisory staff and other staff, appointing authorities have been advised to use them as often as possible. They do have other job duties, as I know case management, education, and support staff do as well. But they are to use them and post those supervisory staff as well to help mitigate that overtime. The second part of the question was basically, read that again, Rebecca. Sorry.
Yeah, of course. Yep.
There's 2 parts.
Yep. Now that case managers and teachers are being required to post again, is there a department-wide policy outlining who must post, particularly regarding management? And why is the implementation so inconsistent across facilities?
Okay, so the inconsistency across facilities is based on the need of each facility, and it was built that way. So every facility has a different amount of vacancies, and whether it's staff out on leave or just correctional officer vacancies. So every facility appointing authority has been tasked with outlining what their needs are and what level or phase they will need to do to maintain a safe operation.
Thank you for answering that question so completely. We appreciate that. Let's jump over to Human Resources with our Director of Human Resources, Michelle Cottingham. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Let's see. Why are LPNs classified as health technicians when they're doing the same work as an RN? LPNs get the same pay as MAs and some CNAs.
Thank you for that question. So LPNs are no longer classified as healthcare technicians. As of July 1st, 2023, they were placed in the LPN 1 classification as a result of a system maintenance study. The healthcare tech classification is utilized for medical assistants. Certified nursing assistant CNAs are classified in the client care aid 1 classification. The pay range for LPNs differ from medical assistants and certified nursing assistants with a higher base and maximum pay. The LPN position description does differ from a nurse one or a registered nurse, but may have some duties that are similar in nature. If you have any specific concerns regarding your position, please talk to your supervisor.
Thank you. Does DOC ever give merit-based raises from scores on the annual performance reviews? And if not, what good is a review for?
Good question. So even if CDOC does not directly link performance review scores to merit-based salary increases, a positive annual review still offers considerable advantages for an employee's career and professional standing. Consistently good reviews are often pivotal for career advancement, serving as strong evidence of competence and reliability when opportunities for promotion or transfer to specialized units arise, thereby giving individuals a competitive edge. Beyond progression, strong performance documentation contributes to job security and a positive professional reputation, potentially leading to increased trust, autonomy, and non-monetary forms of recognition. While not a direct pay raise, good reviews ensure eligibility for any standard step increases or longevity pay that require satisfactory performance and provide a formal record of an employee's contributions, offering personal validation and a basis for constructive dialogue about future growth within the department.
Have you heard any talk about fixing the retirement for people under the rule of 90? Seems unfair for a whole swath of staff.
Unfortunately, we're not involved in that. Anything retirement related is managed by para for the state of Colorado. And so what I would suggest is that you can call the general line to seek more information and inquire on this question. And their number is 1-800-759-7372.
Thank you. And I'll post the recording on the front page of DocNet. So if you need that phone number again, please refer back. We always post that recording. How does Kitchen... Oops, go ahead. I'm sorry. Did you have something else to add?
Nope, not me.
No?
No.
Okay, you're good. How does Kitchen STS staff get an opinion to be added? Who do I need to reach out to?
So the state and COWINS agreed to the importance and effectiveness of staffing incentives to address significant vacancies in the state's 24/7 facilities in order to ensure progress continues to improve staffing in the 24/7 facilities. The state and WINS agreed that staffing incentives should continue for one additional year for those classifications listed in Article 32.3. For awareness, the state has over 750 classifications that fall within 7 occupational groups, and how they, the state and WINS bargaining team, came to settle on the classifications listed is confidential, but it was approved by the governor and WINS and later ratified. The legislation did not approve all classifications to continue receiving the incentives in fiscal year 25-26.
Director, did you know that the home value average in Colorado is $551,854 according to Zillow? That's a mortgage of approximately $3,184 a month if you were to have a 10% down. And a CO only makes approximately $3,700 take home. Please explain how the Department of Corrections is supposed to retain staff if they can't even afford to survive in today's market with having to force themselves to do overtime.
Thank you for that data. That is astonishing. I understand where you're coming from. Wages for positions are set by the Department of Personnel and Administration, DPA. However, DOC has implemented our compensation AR, which is 1450-60, and this assists the department in hiring top talent at a competitive wage, which includes CO1s. Wages at DOC are competitive for the market, and this time we would also encourage staff to look at promotional opportunities if you're not only interested in a possible wage increase, but also in furthering your career. If you're interested in a promotion, OHR does offer office hours to assist staff with applications, provide some tips and tricks, and a good overview of being thorough when competing through the application process.
Thank you. And I know we've talked about this next question on a previous live chat, but I'd like to ask it again, just in case we have any new viewers out there. As library staff, we were placed from a Library Tech 2 position into a Tech 3 position. We were told we would get the step raises when they passed. Now we're told we don't qualify for the step raise because we've not been working in our current position long enough. How do you respond to that?
So the step pay process was implemented in 24-25, effective on July 1st, 2024. Steps are based on time and series. Your step was determined by DPA, and during the review process, several staff came forward and DOC reached out to DPA, sorry. Your concerns have been considered and addressed, and at this time, the letter that you received from DPA last year is still final.
Talk to us about what the leadership team is doing to ensure that overtime, when available, is being distributed fairly. We're talking about offices and teams here.
So when overtime is available, it should be a fair and consistent process to include following the WINS side agreement, which is addressed in Section 5 for covered staff, by first asking for volunteers in rotating order based on total state service. If it's a team approach and it is not being fairly offered, or the process is not being followed, please raise the concern with your supervisor or manager. If after that conversation, there's still an issue, I would encourage you to elevate it through your chain of command.
Is there a plan to bring working from home staff back into facilities to help work control centers or etc.? This would give staff that are forced to work overtime a break and give the staff a little bit more work-life balance.
Another question. This appears to be specific to the submitter's facility or work unit. There are some DOC employees that have been approved a hybrid work schedule, and that means that they work in offices or facilities part of the time and at a remote location such as home for part of the remaining time. This discretion is up to the appointing authority. Again, this question may be better answered by the specific appointing authority for the person that submitted this. Another option would be the DOC solutions box found on DocNet, specific to your office division or facility.
What can be done for valuable, knowledgeable, dependable staff who were not in their classification long enough to get a step raise, but were hired prior to the implementation of pay being based on experience?
Another great question, thank you. While we wish there was a solution to all pay concerns, the funding is not available at this time. As mentioned previously in other live chats, the partnership agreement and the state of Colorado agreed to an allowable factor of time and service. DOC pursued an additional allowable factor of directly related experience in order to recruit and attract applicants with experience and compensate for that experience. Additionally, we want to make promotions rewarding for our DOC staff by counting work-related experience, whereas relying only on time and series would place current staff at the minimum if they change classifications. Again, I would direct you to AR 1450-60, which is the DOC compensation program, for more information about the process.
Thank you. I'll ask you to stick around in case there's any more questions, but for now, let's jump over to the Division of Adult Parole, Director Dave Wolfsgruber. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
For many years, we've been able to bring our dogs to work with us. Now, all of a sudden, we're being told we can't until leases or insurance are reviewed. When will this be done? An official email has not come out regarding this. So is this just a rumor?
Following a recent concern, which was raised by the landlord of a parole office, it was determined that the program needs to be paused for further review due to several health code regulations and lease considerations that must be addressed. Upon receipt of information at the conclusion of this review, parole leadership will provide an update to staff.
Thank you. Is it possible to assign a reentry car to each office so that we can perform our duties out in the community.
There are a limited number of state pool vehicles available in parole offices for civilian reentry staff. And please be aware that in addition, we're in the process of relocating several pool vehicles to offices that have a limited supply by the end of this week. This topic will also be addressed at tomorrow's virtual parole town hall. So we will address it in a little more depth for parole staff. So please tune in to tomorrow's parole town hall. If questions remain following this process, please contact me directly via phone or email so we can discuss and address your specific concerns.
Thank you. Our director of our Business Innovations Group is Ada Cayley. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Rebecca.
Is there a plan to make UKG fully operational and functional so that it replaces DCIS this decade? Secondly, is there a plan in place to make sure that all supervisors are fully trained in UKG and timekeeping rules so that mistakes can be minimized?
So this is a pretty common question, but we recognize that this has been a slow process. But as an agency, we wanted to ensure a smooth transition to UKG. We've continued to bring on new facilities and divisions, and now we have 4 facilities and HQ all transitioned over to UKG for all timekeeping and scheduling. We'll be bringing 4 more facilities over on August 1st. And regarding the first question, UKG as our timekeeping and scheduling platform is fully operational and functional, and it's being used successfully in all 5 of these locations already. Throughout this effort, we've continued to offer training and resources to assist all locations with the transition. If your facility is in need of additional training, please reach out to the UKG team and we'll provide those resources. Regarding discrepancies in the 2 systems, I've stressed before that diligence in verifying time in both systems is critical for both supervisors and employees. Any discrepancies between the 2 systems are related to this entry and verification.
Thank you. Let's jump back to HR in our last few minutes here. Is the department close to being fully staffed? How soon can we project the department to be fully staffed?
Thank you for asking that question. So looking at our vacancy rate as of Friday, we are at 13.59%. We have a total of 6,726 positions within DOC. 5,812 of them are filled. So that leaves us 914 vacancies, and the appointing authorities have submitted 495 HARs to fill those vacancies, and we're tracking on those. It's important to note also that on Monday we onboarded 82 new staff, and so they are not included in those numbers that I provided from Friday. In regards to when we'll be fully staffed, the reality is that will never really happen. We are the largest state agency. We always have staff retiring or separating, various reasons. And so I also wanted to just point out that as we are now in a new fiscal year, we have several new wildly important goals that focus on filling the top 10 hard to fill positions. So you'll see more of a shift with a concerted effort on filling those positions. Hope that addresses that question.
Thank you. Director Clark, I know you are still with us. I had a feeling we were going to come back to you. I'm going to give you this last question before I go back to our Deputy Executive Director. Are you here with us here?
I am, and I can actually take the next 2. I'm just so excited to talk today.
Right.
I don't know what it is. All right.
Staff consistently hear that DOC has limited funds and we have to be careful with our money. Yet we spend thousands for contractors to complete jobs like maintenance and licensed trades could do in-house for half the cost. Do our reasons for that outweigh the money spent that could be used for raises, in-house tools, etc.?
So another great question, and there's a couple reasons for this. Basically, we need to balance between the staff that we have at facilities, licensing in those positions, and then the timeliness of the project that needs to be completed and the priorities of staff time. Meaning sometimes the staff we have doesn't always line up with the license we need to complete that task. And sometimes there's just too many tasks for that staff. In addition, so we're always trying to kind of balance these costs with the other factors in order to keep these facilities up and operational. Additionally, we're often advertising for some of these licensed trade positions, and these are the hardest positions for us to fill, which kind of forces us to go out and get those contractors. So if you at home know of any licensed trade individuals who are looking for a job with the state, please, please, please reach out to HR. We would be so excited to talk with them.
I think with the last 4 minutes, I'm going to send it back over to our Deputy Executive Director, Melissa Smith. We could talk about F&A probably for another hour, Director. So we're gonna cut it there and send it back over to Melissa Smith.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And thank you to the team and our staff that asked these great questions. We're excited every month to answer these questions and really try to share as much information as we can. But I just wanted to close today by emphasizing how crucial every person is in the department, specifically in helping us to shape our culture, keeping our facilities and our staff and those that we care for safe. We've talked a lot today about the changes that are coming, some of the challenges and difficulties that the department is facing. And I just want to emphasize the critical role that, again, each of us has in supporting one another and helping to change our culture and just try to create a positive environment for us to come to work in every day. I want to encourage everyone to just commit to creating an environment where we can support and uplift one another, especially during challenging times when we all are frustrated or worried about the situations and the things that are happening. And as we navigate these changes and we address concerns, if we genuinely support each other, we will create a stronger foundation for the department, and we will foster a positive and productive culture for everyone. Thank you so much for your time today. And Rebecca, thank you again for just being willing to help us host these.
Of course, absolutely. Till next time on August 12th at 11 o'clock. Thanks, everyone.